Welcome back to a special Tech Tuesday, airing Sunday as part of the NADC Conference here in Nashville. We'll be right back with today's Tech Tip guest, but first let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for their support of the podcast and for sponsoring the Athletic Director Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve every aspect of your athletic department. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for teachers, for coaches, for kids, and for parents. And the information that would come back was almost always over-the-top positive, and it'll be the same for you. But surveys also allow that squeaky wheel parent to vent a little. And sometimes they'll share a small issue that you can address and keep it from turning it into a big issue because you didn't know about it because you hadn't done a survey. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the pros at Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to thank Final Forms for their support. Final Forms is the industry leader in forms and registration, but they are so much more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like reminders for parents about physicals, about school policies. Final Forms can also help your coaches with things like attendance and communication. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. You know, it's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. Go to huddle.com. Huddle is how the world sees sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their athletes play better. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the smart cameras, the mobile apps. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com and you're going to find the tools to help your teams, your coaches, and your athletes improve. And Huddle is going to provide a complete professional grade solution for the challenges that you and your coaches face. We believe in sports, and teams believe in Huddle. Go to huddle.com and join the 6 million users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channel. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. Go to Gipper.com and tell them you heard about it on our podcast and use the podcast code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. Create custom branded content for your school's social media channel. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Mobile. Go to onsnap.com, that's onsnap.com, and check out their entire suite of platforms that are designed to help athletic directors do their job better. SnapRaise is their fundraising platform. Our coaches have used SnapRaise with great success, and so can you. There's even an option to get your money before you actually start your fundraiser. Snap Store allows you to create and sell custom spirit gear for all your fans. Snap Spend is their secure money management platform. There's so many things that you can find at OnSnap. Snap Connect is their multilingual family engagement platform. And Snap Manage will help you design an entire website for your athletic. You can find it all at onsnap.com. That's onsnap.com. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com, and they're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online. They'll show you how to scan the attendees that come to your games and collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you'll have a dedicated client success manager that's providing hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com and they'll also show you how to set up and sell tickets for things like school dances, school plays and concerts, even graduation. You can find it all at hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to thank our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. You've heard me say that we've got a Sideline Interactive indoor score table in our gym, and it's just fantastic. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and our sponsors just love the panels. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and check out their fantastic products and see exactly what they can do for you. Go to sales@sidelineinteractive.com, shoot them an email, and you can schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. That's sidelineinteractive.com or email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. And we want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school's record boards for all your sports or to display your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out their interactive touchscreen consoles and their library of templates, which will help you recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Hey, welcome everyone. It's a special tech tip, or it's not Tuesday, it's actually Sunday at the NADC in Nashville. And we've got a really cool guest today. As you know, Gipper is one of our podcast sponsors, and we're excited to have Matt Ehrenreich. Matt is the Community and Professional Development Manager for Gipper. Matt, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us a little bit of your background, where you grew up, went to college, early jobs, and then how you ended up at Gipper.
Jake, I'm definitely a unique guest, I think, in comparison to some of your other ones. I know you have a lot of current athletic directors on your pod. I used to be an athletic administrator myself. I'll tell you a little bit about kind of myself, where I came from, how I got to where I am now. Essentially, I started out studying to be a PE teacher. Went to SUNY Cortland, just south of Syracuse, New York. Go Red Dragons. Very, very popular spot for physical education, learning to become a teacher. I took that opportunity to coach as much as I possibly could and got my first teaching job up in the state of Vermont, which I currently live here right now with my wife. But I started out as a PE teacher, coached just about everything I could. And really early in my career, I got this opportunity back closer to where I grew up to become an athletic director. And I finished my master's degree in athletic administration and, really honed in on that craft, understanding the importance of the job and, talked with as many people as I possibly could about, hey, what does this actually look like? And really got some good experience from that. And, took the trip back to New York, figured I'd do a great career move, give myself a chance at that. And, I think you ask any AD the first couple of years as an athletic director, you're just learning on the fly, right? You're trying to absorb as much as possible. And somebody who's definitely hard on myself, right? Always want to be a perfectionist, do everything the right way. You learn from your previous experiences and you grow from that. And I ended up getting a really great opportunity to become a district athletic director back in Vermont. Using a lot of the connections and opportunities I had from other people I worked with. They said, hey, there's this job coming up. We'd really love to see if you're interested in it. And I did that for the last 3 years up here in the state of Vermont. And it was just an amazing opportunity to work with some great kids. I had this district that was pretty unique where we had 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and I was hosted in pretty much one of them. But, the policies, procedures, operations, that kind of thing was overseen by me throughout this district as this district AD. So a little unique as a comparison to maybe you see some of the bigger school districts in Texas or California with what a district AD does. But at the same time, they put a lot of trust in me in understanding what exactly this job looks like and what's the best way to go about it. So a lot of that coordination piece was a big part of that. But, this opportunity for Gipper really came up. And, I'm somebody who's pretty forward thinking. I know what I'm really good at. I know what I need to work on. And one of the things I always loved was this, I'm an educator at heart, Jake, right? I love to teach. I love to, inform people. It's one of my favorite parts as an AD was working with my coaches, teaching them best practices. Here's the best way to do this or other ways to do that. And, this chance to work for Gipper gave me the tools to do that. I'm hosting webinars, I'm speaking with other people in our community, other athletic directors, and I've had this great chance to network with more people than I ever thought I would, even as an athletic director as a current AD. So really excited about that. It's been a up and down, all over the place sort of path, but the teacher coach to AD path seems to be a pretty unique one or a pretty standard one, but the path to a community professional development manager afterwards can be a little unique. So sure, in that sense, I'm a little different than some of your other guests.
Well, I think that's what makes our podcast, one of the things that makes it interesting is, we've got veteran ADs, we got Hall of Famers, and, we have people that are right out of the chute. We like to say everybody's got a story and, let's hear yours. So appreciate you adding your story. A couple of, small world connections. Our youngest daughter went to SUNY Potsdam for 2 years, ran cross country up there. And then before transferring back to down here in Florida, where she got her degree. And talking about Vermont, I coached at Norwich University a long time ago, just one season back in the early days of my career. So, some different touchstones out there.
I did not know that. That's actually really interesting, Jake. I've got a few colleagues of mine who actually work in that athletic department. So really interesting stuff there. And the SUNY system, I've got so many people. It's like I said with SUNY Cortland, it's like that's a place where if you're going to be a PE teacher, you go to that school to go learn how to do it. It's a really great spot. But that's funny. I didn't know that you had that connection up in Vermont, Jake.
No. I'll swing by the booth later today. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Matt, you've been an AD, you've at a building, you've been a district AD. One of the things that we try to do with this podcast is the idea of sharing some best practices and, lifelong learning, make connections. What are some ways that, you try to stay up to date or that you feel that ADs, can try to do that and continue that lifelong learning?
Yeah, I think when you think about that, Jake, I think back to my time as a first year athletic director. And, I got thinking, how often do I actually get to learn something new, right? But what are those opportunities and where are they? And, if you're lucky enough, you have a great connection with the local conference and your athletic directors in there, certainly willing to help you out as much as they can. But I know there's also some really competitive ones out there too that maybe aren't willing to share some of those best things that they are doing. I like to think that this profession itself is very, very helpful, right? You reach out to somebody, chances are they're probably going to be able to help you out as much as possible. But you really only learn by doing or by going to a conference, state conference, national conference. Maybe you check out Twitter or see some other things online, listen to your podcast, right? There's only just so few things that are out there. So, when we think about the importance of this continuing education, it's like, where do you go to, right? And I found myself asking the same questions. I'm like, what do I do? And I can remember having a pretty frank conversation with another local athletic director. And he's like, you got to go to the national conference. You got to go just listen, absorb as much as you possibly can. Not everything's going to work for you. You're not going to be able to afford everything that you see there, but chances are you'll probably pick up one or two ideas that you can bring back with you. And, you accumulate over the years, right? Through having those conversations. But for me, it was, the conference was great. The connections were better. And that's what I always kind of stuck in on.
No, absolutely. I would echo that 100%. There's that expression, the first time you go to the conference, it's like trying to drink from the fire hose because there is just so much. But hey, that can be a good thing, and as you said, just getting that one nugget, that one good idea to take back to your school. As an athletic director, I retired 2 years ago, going on 3 now, and I did not use Gipper as an AD, but my final year as an AD, I was the president, very honored to be the president of our state association here in Florida. And we used Gipper as a state association. And I saw some of the cool things that it did. Now that, I'm doing the podcast, of course, we use Gipper for our graphics and our announcements. But Gipper's got a new platform out called Fieldhouse. So tell our listeners what Fieldhouse is and maybe why they should be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. This sort of goes with what I was just talking about, Jake, where that sense of community is certainly more localized, or if you're lucky enough to go to the national conference, that's where you can go to network with other ADs. I know there's a couple of Facebook groups that are out there here or there, but the opportunity for you to have an organized space to share and work together, doesn't really exist, at least in a really super formal way, right? So when we look at what a community is and what we want to get out of it, the premise behind Fieldhouse essentially is here's an organized space where professionals can go online, they can connect with each other, they can share different things, and they can learn from each other, right? So those are really the three main aspects we hone in on: connect, share, and learn. The connect piece of this, Jake, is more or less that networking and connections type thing. This is an online platform, easy enough to create an account. You're immediately connected with other ADs from around the country. The share piece that we have on there, that's the ability for you to do something really great in your school, or you have a question about how something is operating or what maybe a better way to do something. You can get on there, ask that question, and maybe someone can share a document. Maybe it's a process that they've worked on over the years. You look at a space and you sit there with a whole lot of other athletic directors. Maybe you're at a table, you're in person. That's a lot of years of experience to learn from, right? There's things that have worked, there's things that have not. To be able to do that and put everybody in one space, that's a lot of great opportunities for you to learn a whole lot of new things. My part of my job as community manager with Fieldhouse, with this community, is reaching out to them, engaging with them in a pretty regular time to be able to set up these things that we call chalk talks, or just general connections or meetups where, maybe there's somebody who can do a mini session similar to what you'd get at a conference, where they do something really, really well in their building, or their school. They've learned something across the way. Maybe they presented at NADC. And they can reach out to our other community members and maybe do something like that that's a little less formal on Zoom, Q&A kind of session, that sort of thing. So we look at Fieldhouse, here's this part of Gipper. No, it's not particularly totally aligned with Gipper, but it's a Gipper product. But it's certainly a place for athletic directors to have a safe space to ask questions, network with each other, and really just grow with each other, because that's what it's all about. And, at least from my own experience, I felt like nobody really reinvented the wheel. It was kind of like a series of here's what's worked for me, and then you kind of mold and adapt it as it goes along. And you don't always get the same kind of feedback or new ideas from people that are within your own local community. You've got to reach out and branch out to other states. And that's what makes it so great, right? There's this national feel of here's this athletic director in Minnesota or Michigan who does something, a way totally different than what I do, but it still works. Maybe it works better for my building. So that opportunity to present it to other people is really great. We've really loved it so far. It's really been open to athletic directors for about a week and a half now. For anybody who's an athletic director wants to join, would really, really appreciate it. If anybody's interested in learning more, you can always do that. Go to gipper.com/fieldhouse. Easy enough to sign up and join that community. But Jake, my question for you is, when you were an athletic director, what did you talk about, or how did you figure out new ways to do things? What was your sense of community? Because I know you've been doing it for a while, so I'm interested to hear from you what you did.
Well, I'm probably not the best example initially. I was a head football coach and an athletic director at a school for a number of years, and I think I did a good job as an AD, but you notice how I said that. I was a head football coach and an AD.
Tough to do both.
Yeah. Was completely oblivious to our state association, the national organization. I'm sure things had come along, but I, just probably ignored them. When I accepted a position as an athletic director at a different school down here in Florida, it just so happened that, there was some state compliance things that our section had to do. And I went, they were presenting the entry level NIAAA course. One of our great, Florida ADs was presenting that, and I just, I'll take it. And I was just hooked. And so I got sucked in, very late in my career. And, I think that was 12 years, later I retired. But during that time, I got involved at the state level, as you said, meeting people, volunteering, helping out, rose up through our state's leadership ladder, if you will, got involved at the national level. I'm still on the national faculty for 3 LTI courses. And it was just a great experience. And so it took me a while to get involved, as you said. But the athletic director community is much different than the coaching community. Coaches tend to keep things close to the vest. I'll tell you a little bit, but I'm not going to tell you everything because you might come back and beat me. But ADs, they can't wait to share information and best practices. And I think that's the lesson that we try to tell young and veteran ADs now is, ask, get involved, introduce yourself. The information is out there. And I think that this, your Fieldhouse platform is such a very cool idea. One of the things that we hear at the national level is, boy, this has just been so great. We get to meet people, we get to exchange ideas. I wish it could keep going. I wish we could do this throughout the year. And hey, here you go. You've got Fieldhouse. And you told me, during the break, I'm going to steal some of your thunder. You told them how to sign up. Go to gipper.com/Fieldhouse. But you've got some specials where you can get up to 30% off some of the plans. Is that true?
Yeah. So I'll preface this, Jake. Fieldhouse is totally free. If you're an athletic director, does not cost you a dime. Come on in, join the community, and keep that invigoration that you get from the conference on here on this platform. The 30%, Jake, that's for our Gipper plan, whether it's pro plan, that sort of thing. You can easily get that information. It's our end of year program. We have not done a deal like this at all. Again, the platform is separate from Fieldhouse. It is open even if you are not a Gipper subscriber. So feel free to go ahead and create your account for Fieldhouse. But the plans for Gipper, for our platform, graphic design, that sort of thing for social media, those are the 30% off plans right now. That is our end of year plan. You can find that information right at gipper.com.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. I'll certainly be going on as soon as we get off this podcast and create my Fieldhouse account. But, go to gipper.com, check out all of their options for you as an athletic director. As we like to say, create world-class marketing content. And what I add, it's so easy, even I can do it. So, go to gipper.com and definitely sign up for Fieldhouse. As Matt said, it's totally free. Matt, anything else before we let you get back to the conference?
No, just really excited. I know I'm not currently an AD, but I love networking with other people. I love finding out new ways to do things, and being able to share this idea that we have with Fieldhouse with all of you is it's pretty special to me. And I hope it's something that a lot of people like to join and are excited about. So Jake, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's been a pleasure and an honor because as I said before, I've been watching you from afar for quite some time. So it's been great to see your podcast grow. You're in what now? 60 some odd countries, or did I read that right?
We
Feel free to correct me.
we just added number 64, so that's pretty cool. Okay, and we
Amazing
have
stuff.
listeners in all 50 states, but we have not been able to get an AD. We have listeners in Wyoming, but we haven't had a guest from Wyoming. So if you're listening to this and you're an athletic director in Wyoming, hey, shoot me an email and we'll get you on the podcast. Matt, you gave out the website for Gipper, gipper.com, of course. If one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, whether it's about Gipper or anything, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, easiest way on Twitter, I'm at Matt E. Gipper. My last name's a little crazy, so email can be a little bit harder, but just reach out to me on Twitter. It's at Matt E. Gipper. And of course, if you email anybody through the Gipper website as well, too, just say, hey, looking to get in touch with Matt, and we'll be happy to forward you there.
All right, great stuff. Matt Ehrenreich from Gipper. Thanks so much for being on the podcast and all the best moving forward.
Great. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you having me again.
Hey, for our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of every interview get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back next Tuesday for another tech tip, and just about every day on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, we do want to say thanks to all of our sponsors: Athletic Surveys, Sideline Interactive, Gipper, of course, Hometown Ticketing, Huddle, On Snap, Snap Mobile, Final Forms, and Wall of Fame. Thanks so much to our sponsors that make this happen. Stop by their booths at the NADC, and thanks again for listening to the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.